What? What is it? What is it? Hello friends, welcome back to A Good Life Farm. So tonight is the beginning of Hanukkah, which most of you know I celebrate. And so I'm doing a little bit of treat making today. I have a brisket that's going to be going into the oven here shortly. And I just thought I would bring you into the kitchen to hang out with me today while I get everything done. I've got little Miss Willow down here. She's been playing with my canning rings. I recently discovered that that is the greatest way to keep her occupied in the kitchen. She absolutely loves the canning rings. And goodness knows I have enough of them that even if she bent a couple, which she hasn't, but even if she did, I've got plenty to spare. So if you hear some metallic clinking sounds taking place in here, that would be her. So I'm going to take a sip of my coffee that I'm going to throw on my apron, and we're going to spend the day in the kitchen. Alright friends, the first thing that I'm doing is I'm making my roasted spiced nuts, and I have my oven over there preheating to 300 degrees Fahrenheit, and I have measured out 7 cups of nuts. Now, for the roasted spiced nuts, you could use any variety of nuts that you like. I usually use a mixture of pecans, walnuts, and peanuts, but you could do all peanuts, you could do all walnuts, all pecans, whatever your preference is. You just want the combination to add up to 7 cups of nuts. Then I'm going to measure out 1 cup of raisins, and I know that this is a spiced nuts recipe, but I will tell you that mixing in some raisins, you could also use dried cranberries, just having that punch of sweetness going in with the sweet and salty nut mixture, it's just amazing. So the raisins just really kind of make everything sing together. What are you getting into over there? Are you just making a mess with those canning rings? Yeah? Are you just making a mess? So now for the spiced portion of the spiced nuts. So first we're going to need 2 tablespoons of cinnamon. And I'm just going to measure my spices into this little into this bowl here. Now we'll need a half a teaspoon each of ginger, allspice, and cloves. Next, we're going to need some ground nutmeg, and we're going to need about a teaspoon or so of that. I pretty much always just eyeball my nutmeg because I am doing it fresh. And so I'm just going to grind some in until it looks like there's about a teaspoon in there. And my oven's ready. What's that noise, Bean? Alright, I think that'll do it. So now to my spices, I'm going to add in my granulated sugar, and then I need to add some salt. I need 1 2/3 cup of granulated sugar. All right. And then 1 teaspoon of fine sea salt. And then I'm just going to whisk these all together. So now I have all of my spices and my sugar and my salt all mixed together, but we're going to need something to get all of that to stick to the nuts, and that's where some egg whites and a little bit of water come in. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab a nice big bowl to beat egg whites in. And move my coffee out of the way. I'm done with that. I'm going to separate my eggs. I need 3 egg whites, and actually, let me grab another bowl here. Grab a little dish. One. So now to my egg whites, I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of water. Now I'm going to whisk the eggs until stiff peaks form, but you don't want to get them to the point where the egg whites look dry. What, Bean? Do you need a bottle, baby girl? Come here. Come here. Say hello, everybody. Say hi. You say hello? She's like, give me that camera. Can you see that point right in there where the egg whites stood up? That is a stiff peak, so they are ready. So now we have our nuts and raisins here. Let me give those a quick stir. Stir the raisins in. Now I'm going to take my egg whites and I'm just going to pour them in there. So now we're just going to stir the egg whites all into the nuts and raisins until everything is coated. Those are all mixed together. So now I'm going to take my seasoning mixture and I'm going to sprinkle that in. I'll do about half at a time. Sprinkle that in and just stir it all together. And we're just going to keep stirring until these are all coated. Alright, so now I have 2 baking sheets that I have lined with parchment paper. You could also use a silicone pad or pads if you have them. And now I'm just going to take my nut mixture and I'm going to spread it all out on both of the baking sheets. Alright, so now my pans of nuts are going to go into the oven and I'm going to bake them for about 10 minutes. I'm going to pull them out, give them a stir, put them back in the oven, bake them for 10 more minutes, and I'm going to repeat that until they have baked for about 30 minutes or so. And you want to bake them until the nuts all look kind of dry. They're going to really begin to stick together, but you want to kind of spread them out every time you stir them and mix them all up. That way they bake nice and evenly. And just for future reference, I think silicone pads or Sil-Pats do work a little bit better, just because the parchment paper, now parchment paper works if that's what you have, but if you've got Sil-Pats, I would use those because I think they work a little bit better, because when you're needing to stir the nuts around, the silicone pads stay still, whereas this parchment paper kind of moves around with everything. Makes it a little bit of a challenge. Alright, so I think that pan is ready, but this pan was a little bit more full. So we'll stick this one in for a couple more minutes and we'll go ahead and unpan that one. Okay, so I lined my countertop with some parchment paper, and then I spread the spiced nuts out all over it, and I'm gonna let them cool. And as they're cooling, in a couple of minutes or so, I'm gonna take my little spatula here and I'm just gonna kind of stir them a little bit. That way, as they cool, they don't completely stick together. And I'll spread some more parchment paper out over here for the other pan. You just wanna let them all spread out and completely cool before you put these in containers, because if you put them in a jar while they're still warm, they're just going to completely stick together. And so you fully cool them to room temperature. Yeah, and then you get to enjoy them. So I just got done mixing up my dry rub for my brisket, and this is just a small brisket. This is just a partial brisket, so I'm going to sprinkle some over the top. And I probably won't even need all of this, just because this amount of dry rub is for a whole brisket. So I'll just save the rest of it for another day. Turn it over. Sprinkle it on the top. And then this is going to go into the oven at 400 degrees for about an hour, and then I will cover it. Well, first I'll pour in some beef broth, then I'll cover it, turn the temperature down to 300, and just let it go for a couple of hours. Alright, so while the nuts were cooling down here on the parchment paper, every so often I would come through here and just kind of wiggle them. That way, as they were cooling, they wouldn't completely stick together. Otherwise, you'd have this huge mass of the nuts. And so now that they're cooled, I'm going to go ahead and put them in jars. And then they will be ready to enjoy. Although I do know a certain somebody who has already gotten into them. He shall remain unnamed. No, I promise. I promise. One day you'll be able to have some. Maybe next year or the year after that. Oh, I know. What? Alright friends, so my brisket is in the oven and it will actually be done here shortly. And so we're just going to have a nice dinner tonight. You can see back here behind me, I've got my Hanukkahs lit. It's night number 1 of Hanukkah. We already gave little Miss Willow a gift, and you can see up there, let's see, up there hanging across the doorway is kind of a little bunting that's numbered 1 through 8, and each one of those is a little pocket. And so for Miss Willow, we have a little surprise in each one of those for her. And then on the 8th day, and you'll just have to pardon, the dogs are going crazy out there. On the 8th day, we are going to have a really nice meal. There will be some gift giving, and right now I'm just going to relax while the brisket is finishing up, and I'm going to do a little bit of reading. I thought it was very appropriate to be reading the story of the Maccabees, which is the story of Hanukkah, or where you can find the story of Hanukkah. The Festival of Lights, or also the Feast of Dedication. And it is just a great time to rededicate yourself to your walk with the Lord and remember all of the blessings that He has given us. So if you would like to get the recipes that you saw me making in this video, the roasted spiced nuts and the brisket, I will put a link to those down below. So thanks for hanging out with me here today while I got a little bit of work done, did a little bit of cooking, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. And if you celebrate Hanukkah, happy Hanukkah. My name is Constance at Good Life Farm, and I'll talk to y'all next time.